Okay. Starting with, well, let's start with Rick. What if you had to pick one? And obviously, you can't pick from anybody who's here. Has to be something completely new. So, what would you recommend?
Well, before I reveal my choice, I would just like to say that it's been a brilliant conference, and there's so much to see. I've actually had a lot to do this week, so I haven't watched as many as I would have liked. In fact, I thought I hadn't watched many until I wrote down a list and found I've watched about 20. But one of the things that struck me was not only was there a lot of really strong showing from women, but is genuinely international. And not just Anglophone international either, but from non-English speakers. So two I'd like to mention quickly before I get to my real choice is Valentina Ortiz from Spain and Aastha Jain from India. Because the thing I took away from their talks, although the details are different, you're struck by the remarkable similarity between those different culture, different languages, and in the case of India, radically different culture. But the similarity between there and what's going on in the Anglophone countries is remarkable. However, my first choice is Michelle Blackhill and the interview that she did with Elizabeth and Mike. And I've chosen that because she tells her own story of her escape from the psychic mire that is feminism, and she tells it in a way that I think this video would be, if there was one video you would like young women out there in the general public to watch, it would be that one, because she explains it like no one else could, because she's been there and, as it were, recovered from it. So yeah, so Michelle Blackhill.
Cheers to that, great choice.
Yeah, agreed. Can I just say, she, as you'll recall, William, that she got a little emotional halfway through, and we obviously asked her afterwards, Michelle, would you like us to cut that out? And she said, no, I want people to know what pain, that even now, the pain of looking back on my time as a feminist gives me, and it's I guess she was implying it's therapeutic.
And I also point out, since Deborah's here, that Deborah has a website that Firebird Psych, isn't it? And there's something on there that that describes it very accurately, how feminism is in need of cognitive behavior therapy. Well, that aligns precisely with Michelle's talk, because she actually had CBT in order to recover from feminism.
That was in response to, it was slightly tongue in cheek, but only slightly, in as much as it was in response to an interview that was conducted in Australia on ABC, which I'm assuming is a little bit like our BBC, and they had a panel of feminists on, one of which was the American by she lives in America, but I think she's from Egypt or somewhere like that. And Mona El Tahaway. And she was literally on there, and so some of my friends in Australia had sent me the video, and it infuriated me so much that I literally just banged out this 7 reasons why feminism needs CBT. It was literally because she put 7 reasons why feminism needs something else. Hatred, I suppose. But she'd said on there, she'd said a line that had really, really annoyed me. And she said, how many men do we need to kill before men stop raping us? And that one sentence summed up a level of cognitive distortion that you would get sent for treatment for.
Yeah, it really makes you realise why we need a hate crime against misogyny, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. Well, here's the thing about that. I've had a fair bit of name calling throughout my couple of years on Twitter, but certainly this week. This week alone, I've been called a troll, a bootlicker, and a twat. And all of which you can see really affects me and bothers me. But one of the comments I've made on Twitter this week is that all the abuse on that level, and I do get challenged by other people and have lively debate with other people, but all the abuse of that level that I get comes from women, and usually women that are self-identified as feminists. So what happens then if in the future we get a misogyny law and I phone the police? Are they going to go and arrest these women for calling me a bootlicker or a patriarchal handmaid? Which always makes me laugh because it makes it sound like a band. But you see what I mean? There's this idea men commit the vast majority of misogyny, and I would argue that most women, like you see in schoolyards where girls are very, very nasty to each other, it's almost where the training ground of coercive control, should we say.
Well, Brian will be able to correct me, but didn't the Pew research show that women are more responsible for bad mouthing other women than men are? Have I got that right?
Is that for online abuse, or what was that?
Yeah, I mean online. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of. Well, it depends, but certainly, kind of, there's been research done where they've been specifically looking at abuse against women, and it has turned out to be majority women, about 60%. But these are kind of snapshots in time. So, kind of, I know one of them ridiculously just managed to hit upon a flame war between One Direction fans and Justin Bieber fans, bizarrely, and they were all predominantly, teenage girls. But well, okay. So we're getting close on time. So I think we've got at least 2 more recommendations. Should we go with Deborah next? What would you like to?
I recommended Janice. I've already said Janice.
Oh, sorry.
To me.
You've already okay. And Mike,
Elizabeth and I spent 2 hours on the running order. It was really tough to do. I watched. I managed to see Ava's thing. It's only 20 minutes long. It's quite a short video, and it had me in tears. I can honestly say, and it's very rarely something takes me that far. But she is just a masterful, or mistressful, whatever it is, a communicator, and just cares so much. It's something you see, I think, from you, Deborah, and from you, Elizabeth, and from Janice. Some guys kind of get that some women actually care about this stuff. The
interesting thing about Ava's video is that she was identifying something beyond feminism as being the problem.
Yes.
And I don't. If you said she'd been interested in these things for 10 years or more, but she's only been public for 18 months.
No, I'm sorry. No, I was saying that I've been interested in this stuff for 10 years.
Oh, right. Well, Ava's only burst on the scene relatively recently, and yet she's got to this point of understanding, I think, that there's something above and beyond feminism that's driving it, and she's done that very quickly. So she's a bright cookie, that's for sure. Yeah.
So that's my golden prize then, Brian. Brian?
Yeah, okay, and we're hopefully we're going to be talking to Ava later. I suppose we should ask Elizabeth.
So can I just say, Brian, don't tell her about the 9.9 versus 10 thing. I don't want there to be. I don't want it to be.
I'll leave her to find that out herself. So what about you, Elizabeth? What would you recommend?
Just one.
Only one.
Just one. Okay. If it's got to be one, I would like to direct people to one that I think doesn't have as many views as it should have. It really resonated with me, and it's Lucian Valsan with the inflection point in the narrative curve. So what he talks about is that kind of social movements and the progression of ideas goes through these stages that if you plot them on a graph with like the people involved and the time look like 3 little bumps and then a big bump. And during the big bump, there are a lot of people involved, and the idea is getting spread far and wide. And if you do it right, it gets, you know, adopted. These ideas get adopted into the mainstream of the culture, and your idea has changed the culture. And he argues that we may well be on the fourth big curve right now, based on evidence like the fact that our talking points are being mentioned by, you know, classical liberals with a lot of influence, like Douglas Murray in the The Madness of Crowds. And, you know, it's what he presents is that we've got a real opportunity right now. And, you know, that's also a real responsibility, because he does explain that we could mess it up and not achieve this saturation of our ideas so that society does change. But yes, there's an opportunity, and it made me feel quite optimistic. And I love his presentation. He's got a really cool presentation style. And a mug that says leftist tears, which was rather fun as well. So yeah, that's the video I would like to recommend people go and check out.
Well, that makes it
right in terms of things on the being on the up, isn't he? I mean, if you, I mean, Deborah was saying this about this conference being such a success, but if you go back 7 or 8 years, it was, blimey, things were different. Yes. I mean, 8 years ago, you stumbled across Karen Strawn, and you sat there going, "Can you say that? I mean, I know it's true, but can you say it?"
That's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do this tonight, because, like, obviously it's a bit of a kind of you know, celebration of the conference, but it's also, you know, it's International Men's Day, and the difference in coverage from, as you say, you know, kind of 5 years ago, even a couple of years ago, is quite remarkable. Elizabeth, you've stolen my thunder, because that was going to be my recommendation as well. And absolutely, it kind of, one of the reasons I would have picked it is because it's a very positive message, and it resonates as very true. The next panel we're going to have, we're going to be talking about culture and the culture war. And one of the things he was saying was that over the next couple of years, you're going to see a significant piece of culture which will be resonating the men's human rights message. It could be in music, it could be in film, you know, kind of, not sure where, but that's going to happen. And great speaker, and very much kind of like, he was, you know, he's certain this is going to happen. It's just a case of kind of like how much it's boosted, and, you know, so we have to be ready to. But
don't you think, just on that, I wonder if everybody's seen the new Coca-Cola advert.
Yes.
It's, you know, a big piece of media, and it's so pro-father. It's just a delight. It's such a lovely message.
Well, don't that ultimately what Coke has done here, from, if I take off my hat now and put on an old previous life hat, the marketing idea, because ultimately this organisation is there to sell Coca-Cola, but be under no illusion there. However, what they have done is read the reaction to the crap that was put out by Gillette. And actually, what that shows me is the backlash against this crap of toxic masculinity that Gillette put out was so powerful that Coke, one of the most powerful brands in the world, has actually thought,
we more politically efficient.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gillette. Good one.
Yeah.
Can't you see it too? There's an elephant in the room.